Imagine like spending hours researching, scripting, filming, and editing a 20-minute video. You pour your heart into it, you upload it to YouTube, you refresh the page an hour later, and you see 4 views.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That is brutal.
Right. I mean, in today's hyper-optimized, metric-obsessed creator economy, conventional wisdom says you failed.
Yeah, completely.
The algorithm has rejected you, and it's time to pivot or just quit altogether. But what if there's a corner of the internet where 4 views isn't a failure at all?
Right.
What if, for a very specific type of creator, 4 views is exactly the point? Welcome to this deep dive where we are going to explore exactly that.
And honestly, it completely upends everything we are taught about digital communication.
Totally.
We are so conditioned to believe that reach equals value, you know?
Yeah.
We've almost lost the ability to understand content that's created for, like, purely intrinsic reasons.
We really have. And that is exactly our mission for this deep dive today. We are exploring the content, the underlying psychological themes, and the overarching strategy of a highly specific digital catalog. It's a YouTube channel called The King's Voice Media.
A really fascinating case study.
It really is. Now, before we get into the weeds of view counts and digital strategy and video titles, I need to make the parameters of our analysis completely clear for you listening right now.
Yeah, this is important.
This channel is entirely faith-based. It is firmly rooted in Christian theology and biblical teachings. However, our deep dive is going to look objectively at the architecture of their messaging.
Exactly. We aren't here to debate theology.
Right. We are absolutely not endorsing any specific religious viewpoints, nor are we taking any theological sides. We are simply acting as your guides to unpack the structures, the psychology, and the content strategies contained within the original source material.
We're looking strictly at the how and the why of what they're building.
Exactly. Just the mechanics of it. Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start by looking at the sheer baffling scale of this channel, because the numbers here tell a story that goes entirely against the grain of the modern internet.
The numbers are wild.
They really are. So The King's Voice Media currently sits at 259 subscribers, but, and here's the statistic that stopped me in my tracks, they have uploaded 284 videos.
Yeah, more videos than subscribers.
Which is crazy. Their bio clearly states their mission. It says they want to help you hear, understand, and strengthen your faith daily through the Word of God and life experiences.
And that ratio, having more uploads than subscribers, that is the first major clue to their underlying psychology.
Just so.
Well, think about the current landscape of content creation. Everything is metric-driven, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You study retention graphs, you obsess over click-through rates on thumbnails, you desperately chase the algorithm, trying to manufacture some sort of viral moment.
Right, but I hear that, and let me push back here, because this is the part I struggle to wrap my head around.
Sure.
If you are regularly posting 20-plus minute videos to an audience of, say, 4 to 19 people, which is what their recent uploads are pulling, isn't that just a digital diary?
Well,
Like, why use a massive public broadcast platform like YouTube at all if you seemingly don't care about reach or virality? Why not just send an email newsletter to your family, you know?
I mean, it's a fair question.
Yeah.
But it assumes the platform is only valuable if you are maximizing its reach. Look closely at their mission statement.
Okay.
The operative word there isn't grow or reach, it is daily. They want to help strengthen faith daily.
Ah.
From that psychological baseline, YouTube isn't a megaphone for them. It's a library.
Oh, that's an interesting way to look at it.
Right. It is a highly reliable, easily accessible infrastructure to house a daily practice. For this creator, the act of publishing the message is the fulfillment of the mission.
So the publishing itself is the goal.
Exactly. It is an exercise in discipline. Whether 4 people or 4 million people watch it, the internal goal of showing up daily has been met.
So it's less about building an audience and more about building like a reliable community center.
Yes.
It might be tiny, it might be incredibly intimate, but the doors are open at the exact same time every single day. Because looking at their weekly messages playlist, there are 41 deep dive videos in there, and the playlist was updated just yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah. They are proving that they are there, dependably, for whoever happens to stumble in from the chaos of the internet on any given Tuesday.
Precisely. And understanding that intrinsic motivation, that they're building a shelter rather than a billboard, is crucial for understanding the actual content they're producing.
Okay, I'm with you.
Because you can't show up every day in a chaotic digital world unless you have a very specific psychological mechanism keeping you grounded.
Which brings us perfectly to the core theme they are broadcasting from this digital community center. If their mission is to strengthen faith in an anxious world, they rely heavily on one primary defense mechanism.
Right.
But they do not treat this concept the way you or I normally would.
No, they don't.
The mechanism is peace. But listen to the titles of their recent long-form and short-form videos. We've got Empowering Peace for Any Situation.
Okay.
Peace, My Superpower. Protect Your Peace, Stop Emotional Attacks. And Protect Your Peace, Your Ultimate Spiritual Superpower.
What's fascinating here is how aggressively they are reframing the semantic meaning of peace.
Yeah, that's not what you'd expect.
Not at all. If you look at the modern wellness industry, peace has been entirely commodified as this passive state.
Oh, totally. Like a spa.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It is an absence of stimuli. It's a quiet room, a babbling brook, closing your eyes and just escaping the noise.
Just zoning out.
Right. And that version of peace is inherently fragile.
Yeah.
Because the moment a loud noise happens or you get a stressful email, that passive peace is shattered.
Right. Passive peace requires the world to cooperate with you, which it never does.
Exactly.
But that is not what this channel is teaching at all. The language they use, superpower, protect, stop emotional attacks, it is highly tactical.
It really is.
They are weaponizing the concept of peace. It actually reminds me of noise-canceling headphones.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, peace isn't finding a perfectly silent room, because those don't exist in the real world. Peace is an active frequency you are generating in your own mind that neutralizes the chaos so you can actually focus on the music.
That is a much more accurate mechanical description of what they're doing. They are acknowledging a harsh psychological reality.
Which is?
That the viewer is living in a state of perpetual conflict.
Yeah.
The internet, the workplace, modern life is just an endless barrage of emotional attacks. Therefore, teaching someone to just relax is useless advice.
It really is useless when you're stressed.
So instead, they are teaching peace as an active, generated frequency. It is a highly resilient psychological perimeter.
A perimeter, I love that.
You don't find peace by retreating from your circumstances. You deploy peace to withstand them.
It totally changes the posture of the viewer. You go from a victim trying to hide from the chaos to someone who is actively standing their ground within it, generating this neutralizing frequency.
Exactly. It's empowering.
But, recognizing you need a tactical peace shield is one thing. Actually deploying it when your boss is yelling at you or when your bank account is overdrawn is an entirely different skill.
Oh, absolutely.
So how does this channel practically teach a viewer to turn that frequency on?
Well, that requires us to look at their teaching methodology, which is where their strategy gets highly sophisticated.
Okay.
They are tackling a fundamental problem in education, which is cognitive accessibility. How do you explain an abstract, invisible concept like active peace to a highly varied audience?
Right. And they explicitly promised in their bio to use both the Word of God and life experiences.
Yes, that duality is key.
They aren't just relying on theology. They are blending it with the deeply mundane. And I actually want to highlight two specific YouTube shorts they produced that sit right next to each other in their catalog.
Oh, the juxtaposition there is great.
It's so jarring, but it perfectly illustrates this methodology. On one hand, you have a short titled Stay Calm Swimming Example of Mastering Peace.
Okay, very relatable.
Right. And right alongside it, you have another short titled Grace Under Fire Lessons from Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
It is a brilliant psychological pairing.
It really is.
Let's look at the mechanics of the swimming metaphor first.
Yeah.
They are taking this abstract idea of deploying peace and anchoring it in a brutal biological reality.
The reality of drowning.
Exactly.
Mm.
If you are in deep water and you panic, what happens? Your heart rate spikes, you flail your arms, you expend all your oxygen, and you sink.
Panic actively tries to kill you.
It does. But if you stay calm, if you regulate your breathing and trust the physical law of buoyancy, you glide. You survive.
It is an immediate, visceral feedback loop. If you panic emotionally in a stressful meeting, you sink. If you trust your internal buoyancy, you keep your head above water.
Yes, it maps a high-level psychological concept onto a physical sensation that almost everyone has experienced.
Everyone knows what it feels like to be in water.
Right. It is perfect for managing low-level daily anxieties.
Mm-hmm.
But the channel recognizes a crucial limitation here.
What's that?
A swimming metaphor is wholly inadequate for dealing with existential trauma.
Yeah.
If someone is going through a devastating divorce or a life-threatening illness, telling them to just treat it like swimming feels patronizing.
Yeah, it lacks the necessary gravity.
Exactly.
Which is exactly where Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego come in.
Right.
For those who aren't familiar, this is one of the most dramatic, high-stakes narratives from the Old Testament. Basically, three men refuse to bow to a king and are thrown into a literal blazing furnace, yet they survive untouched.
It's an epic of absolute crisis.
Right. But wait, isn't it incredibly jarring for a viewer to scroll from a mundane swimming lesson directly into a story about a fiery execution?
You would think so, yeah.
Like, does jumping between those extremes actually work?
It works because human stress operates on exactly those extremes.
Oh, that makes sense.
The channel is providing different cognitive frameworks for different scales of crisis. The swimming example provides a biological framework for daily annoyances.
Like getting cut off in traffic.
Exactly. But the fiery furnace provides a narrative theological framework for absolute catastrophe. They are teaching the underlying mechanism that neutralizing frequency of active peace is the exact same tool, whether you are dealing with a traffic jam on a Tuesday or whether you feel like you are standing in the middle of an inferno.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Think about how you handle a sudden crisis in your own life. Like, to you, the listener. Let's say you get a flat tire on a busy highway in the pouring rain.
A nightmare scenario.
Right. Are you the type of person who needs to recall a dramatic, high-stakes story of someone surviving a 10-car pileup just to feel grateful and gain perspective?
Some people need that.
Yeah. Or do you just need to remember a simple physical mechanic, like breathing slowly so your hands stop shaking on the steering wheel?
Exactly.
The channel realizes that different minds need different keys to unlock the exact same door, so they simply provide both keys.
And that duality oscillating between the mundane physical world and the miraculous theological world ensures that the lesson of active peace remains accessible, regardless of what the viewer is currently enduring.
Okay, so we have established this incredibly robust active defense system. You know how to generate your noise-canceling piece, you know how to stay buoyant, and you know how to face the furnace.
You're fully armored.
But once you have canceled out the noise in the world, what are you actually listening to? What is this peace shield protecting?
That's the million-dollar question.
This is where the channel takes a fascinating pivot. They move from protecting your internal state to defining your external identity. Specifically, they build this architecture of identity through the lens of fatherhood.
Yeah, if peace is the tactical defense mechanism, identity is the fortress being defended.
Right.
You don't build a massive, complex defense system just to protect an empty plot of land.
No, you'd be protecting a vault.
You build it to protect something of immense value. And for this creator, the core structure of human value is deeply tied to a specific relational dynamic.
Looking at their weekly messages playlist over just the past month, they have released a sequence of deep 20-plus minute videos entirely focused on mapping this out.
Let's hear them.
Okay, we have a video simply titled Fatherhood Matters.
Sure.
Then we have why fatherhood reflects God's image. And then another title, The Father's Pride, Good Pride versus Bad Pride. Now, to add the final piece to this puzzle, they also recently released a video called Heaven's Joy When Heaven Celebrates You. Right. I was looking at these titles as a complete set, and it feels to me like they aren't just offering self-help tips. They are mapping out a massive cosmic family tree for the viewer.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you can see how sophisticated this thematic layering actually is.
Especially regarding modern psychology, right?
Exactly. Think about how much of our modern identity crisis is tied to external validation.
Almost all of it.
We define our worth by our careers, our physical appearance, or, ironically, our social media metrics.
Which is an incredibly fragile foundation.
It is. What this channel is doing is completely bypassing external validation by tackling complex emotional dualities, like good pride versus bad pride.
Right, because historically in Christian theology, pride is usually categorized as the ultimate failing, right?
Yeah, it's considered the root of arrogance.
So how do they justify good pride?
Well, they justify it by grounding it in that cosmic family tree you mentioned. They are arguing that earthly fatherhood is meant to be a direct reflection of divine fatherhood.
Okay, I follow.
Therefore, there is a version of pride that has nothing to do with arrogance or ego. Good pride is simply the deep, joyous celebration a parent feels when watching their child exist and succeed.
Oh, that's beautiful.
By redefining pride not as something the viewer feels about themselves, but as something a divine father feels about the viewer. They completely shift the burden of self-worth.
Oh, wow. When you connect that good pride concept to the video titled Heaven's Joy, when heaven celebrates you, they are essentially stripping away the viewer's need to prove themselves to the world.
Exactly.
In this framework, you aren't just a random person clicking on a YouTube video with 4 views. You are positioned as the center of a literal heavenly celebration.
You belong.
You are deeply connected to a divine lineage. That is a radically potent message for someone who might be sitting alone in their apartment feeling entirely isolated and worthless.
It provides an architecture of intrinsic worth.
Intrinsic, yes.
If a viewer genuinely internalizes the idea that they are part of this divine reflection and that heaven itself celebrates their existence, it fundamentally alters their psychological baseline.
It has to.
And this brings us all the way back to the beginning of our analysis.
Okay.
When your worth is intrinsic, rather than dependent on the chaotic metrics of the outside world, it makes that active superpower of peace infinitely easier to maintain.
Because you aren't defending a fragile ego anymore. The systems are entirely dependent on each other.
Exactly. The secure, immutable identity is what generates the frequency of peace. And the active frequency of peace is what protects the identity from being eroded by the emotional attacks of the modern world.
That is genuinely profound. So what does this all mean? Let's bring all these complex threads together.
Yeah, let's summarize.
When we look at the King's Voice Media, we aren't just looking at a random assortment of low view count religious videos.
Not at all.
We're looking at a channel that is engineering a highly intentional, deeply psychological survival guide for its viewers. They are utilizing the modern architecture of the YouTube platform in a very specific, deliberate way. They are mixing 236 short, punchy, biologically grounded lessons in their shorts playlist.
Like the swimming analogy.
Exactly, with deep, slow burn, 20-plus minute weekly messages that tackle existential identity.
They are using the infrastructure of the digital age to deliver incredibly ancient mechanisms of resilience.
Yeah.
They are teaching that peace is not a passive retreat, but an active noise-canceling superpower. And they are teaching that human identity is not something you earn through worldly metrics, but a reflection of a divine celebratory fatherhood.
And perhaps most impressively, they are doing all of this with relentless consistency, day in and day out. They are fundamentally rejecting the premise that a video with 4 views is a failure.
Yeah.
They are operating on a completely different metric of success.
It is a masterclass in mission-driven content. They are prioritizing the discipline of the message over the dopamine hit of the algorithm.
That is so well said.
But as we wrap up this analysis, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to ponder on your own.
Oh, please do.
Because this channel brings up a fascinating paradox about the world we currently live in.
What's the paradox?
Well, digital platforms, social media networks, and the algorithms that power them are notoriously designed to trigger our anxieties.
Oh, absolutely. They feed on it.
They're explicitly built to evoke outrage, fear, and a persistent sense of inadequacy, specifically to keep us perpetually scrolling.
The doom scroll.
Right. So what does it mean that a creator is intentionally taking that exact same anxiety-driven infrastructure, the very machine designed to make us frantic, and using it to relentlessly broadcast a localized frequency of unshakable peace and heaven's joy?
It's like the ultimate Trojan horse.
Exactly. Does using an outrage machine to broadcast peace fundamentally contradict the message? Or perhaps, does the very chaos of the modern internet make this digital armor of peace even more necessary to broadcast, regardless of whether there are 4 million people watching or just 4?
Wow. That is a brilliant question to end on. Is the internet the root of the problem, or is it just the newest battlefield where we desperately need to learn how to deploy our noise-canceling piece?
Food for thought.
Definitely. Thank you so much for joining us and exploring this with us today. To everyone listening, keep your frequency active, trust your buoyancy, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.